Chinese Super League Part 3. And I think you could see the same extreme spending and lack of success that we saw with the Chinese Super League
Mhm.
and what we're currently, I think, in my opinion, seeing with the Saudi Pro League, where you're not spending smartly and you're just spending to spend because you can. Because I'm not sure I fully trust the owners. I mean, I think they've made progress since like early days MLS, where I think, we saw you covered it in your story with Chivas USA. Like they're signing players off of FIFA. Like, do we really, with no salary cap, want to be giving owners who have that mindset that ability to do that? Like, I wouldn't. I think they've improved beyond that point, but I don't think they've gotten to a level where I fully believe that they would be able to make intelligent signings that would fit the teams well versus just like, all right, the reins are off. Like, we have all this money. Let's just spend, 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 spend. Like, throw the money, throw all the money.
Mhm.
And I'm worried again that it would come back to that point one where you have Todd Bowley extrapolated and you have Chelsea where you're just spending money to spend money on young players because you think eventually they'll be good.
Yeah, yeah, and it's definitely an interesting thing, and we did touch on that a little bit, and same vibe as Saudi Arabia, right? You're going to go out there and you're going to spend as much money as you can, and hopefully it turns into something good. If not, well, the only difference, right, is China and Saudi Arabia were backed by, to my understanding, I know Saudi Arabia was, but I think China was too, government funds, not private. So bit of a difference there where it might be a little bit more control when it's somebody else's money, like your personal money. But I understand your point. The other one I did want to touch on, because it's one that always comes up, is would the league put itself in financial trouble, right? Because the single entity, everybody's kind of, working together, pitching in. If we spend anything we want, we're going to turn into the next NASL and disappear. I don't think so, right? I think a couple reasons why. One, owners are worth a heck of a lot more now, and they can handle losses a little bit better. They also see things from a business and financial standpoint as much as a sporting standpoint, right? They can look at their team and say, what can I do logically that won't put myself in the ground? Where once Pele came in and it was like, oh, if we sign one big player, everybody's going to show up. We'll make lots of money. So they signed one big player for, again, overpaying exuberant amount of money that they couldn't afford anyway. And then it didn't work out and they went down, right? And they're also more invested than before. They care more, right? I think so, at least. So there's always going to be a risk of, if you spend and fans don't follow, you're going to lose money. Yes. But I don't think it's going to be the next NASL because soccer is well more respected here. And we've talked about this a little bit as well, where, in the past it was, okay, Pele's in New York. That's so cool. If they come, I'm going to go see it. And then they bring over people like, I know George Best was in a West Coast team at some point, San Jose, maybe something like that. But they had a whole bunch of other people who got paid very, very good money, and it didn't attract people to the games like they thought it would, and then they ran out of money, right? With FIFA, and we talked about this, FIFA accessed all these different leagues. People know all these players and their big names. So if they were to come over with a lack of salary cap, you're going to be able to draw attraction and bring them in, and fans will come watch them. It's um, a little bit more desirable is the word I'm looking for. Like people will want to do that more than the NASL days because NASL you're still fighting people who thought that. And to quote a very fun article I read, soccer is for short wearing communists. So we're not quite in
Why?
that state anymore.
Oh, just found my opening clip.
Love it.
No
Um,
context. I'm throwing that in there.
love it. Well, listen, like I said, I
Andrew
don't
quote.
I don't think we get rid of it completely, right? Avoid this whole, you know, Todd Bowley buy whoever you want, whenever you want type of thing. But I think if you raise it up to fall in line with owners profiting, it'd be really, really good, right? NFL, NBA, MLB, to my knowledge, anytime they get a bump in TV revenue or something like that, they work it in to say, okay, your salary cap can raise faster or stronger, right? Let's do that here, where our get our money up, and instead of holding on to it, put it in the salary cap and let us go and go a little bit more audacious. Because I think that is a really big thing here is I mean, I was having a conversation with a couple of my players, and they're like, "Yeah, I just don't really get MLS. Like, it's just not as good." Well, yeah, it's not as good, but we can get there. So, would love to see us get there. Your thoughts on get rid of it, keep it, change it? What are your thoughts?
I've always been of the mindset that we need to keep it, but we need to loosen the reins. I think there needs to be more freedom for teams to build out a team and not necessarily at the top. If there were still restrictions on your top players that you brought in, fine, whatever. I think we could loosen those as well. But I think the most important is, and we talked about this in the episode where we covered the Columbus news with the oh God, what was the word? The goalkeeper waiver,
Hmm.
the hardship waiver. Teams need to be able to build out rosters in terms of depth because you're asking them to compete in all these competitions and travel across the country and travel across the continent. And then you're like, okay, but you got to do so with a bag of chips. And that's all you get. You got to convince players to play with this bag of chips. You get infinite amount of money for these three players on your team, and then the rest you just got to convince to win. You got to win them over with a bag of Doritos. It's like, all right, well, how do you expect us to do that then? So I think they definitely need to loosen the reins on that. Let teams spend more so in the middle part of their roster, building out the support role type players and the depth. And I think that's 100% the way to go. Because I think we're fine to still have some restrictions on the top guys because we're still not at the level where we're like drawing the attention of like your Hollands, De Bruyne's in their primes. So it's fine. Like you don't need to like be like, oh, you could go bring in whoever you want at the top level. Like let's focus on building out the middle of the roster first.